What is up, everybody? Eric with Chlorine King here. Thanks for tuning in for another video. I get asked all the time, hey, can you do a day in the pool life for us to all see? So that's exactly what you're going to get today. So today you're going to follow along with me as I go about my day and see what it's like and what I do running Chlorine King Pool Service. So the first thing I always do when I first get up is I check the vitals of the company. And what I mean by that is I see, all the people at work. Are they all out on time? Are there fires or complaints we have to put out? And things like that. And, the vitals for today it's a pretty normal day. We do have one person out with an injury, so I am helping cover some of their load in addition to what I'm doing. So today's a good day for you guys to follow me along. I have a mixture of a commercial pool, the only commercial pool we service, which I'll explain when we get there. Some estimates for new service calls. I'm doing a pool startup, so I'll give you some quick tips in that. And of course, a daily rigmarole of phone calls and anything else like that, which I will discuss on camera. So I'll try to get as much footage as I can on each site that I visit today. And if not, I'll just give you a recap of what happened. I do have a lot of stops today, so I'm obviously not going to do all the stops on camera because the video would be hours long. So I'll give you some of the more entertaining things or things that I could, create a teachable moment for you guys. So stay tuned and let's go ahead and get started with the day.
All right, everybody. Our first stop of the day is a commercial pool. And ironically, this is the only commercial pool we have in our company. Why is that? Well, we don't like commercial pools generally because they're super hard to maintain, especially for the heavy use pools like the hotel pools and large public pools and all that kind of stuff, which obviously a public pool is a commercial pool. But this is a very lightly used basic pool in about a 50 home development. So it's very easy to take care of. We really love the inspector that's here. So this pool is very easy to keep balanced. So when the inspector does get here, there's really no issues, no callbacks or anything like that. So this is a pool that fits in our model of, being able to be efficient with the pool with as minimal time and callbacks and all that kind of stuff, unlike most commercial pools. And another thing we like this pool is not only is it a a basic rectangular pool and a lightly used development, it is essentially a glorified residential pool. Now in here we got the autofill, we got the pool pump, which is a Supermax VS, of course a logbook's in here too, which we'll fill that out shortly. And then of course over here outside of the enclosure we have a CS250 and a Jandy JE3000T heat pump. So again, it's all residential equipment. You're not dealing with DE pits and all that kind of stuff that makes commercial pools very time consuming to manage. So today is Tuesday, it's the day after Memorial Day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday are full service days, and Tuesday and Thursdays are chem only days, so we're going to do a chem check here and add chems necessary. And then another great reason we love this pool in particular, which if you are doing commercial pools, it's very important to make sure that the property manager or maintenance crew is taking care of the pool in the off days that you aren't here, and over the weekend they do just that and do a great job. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what I'm gonna do here during this chem trip or check, and then roll on out and on to the next one. All right, so I'm gonna take my test kit back there and test the pool to see what readings we got. I always do a full test on commercial properties, and then from there we're going to go ahead and open up this equipment room, if you will, and make sure the pump basket's clean and all that kind of stuff, and of course fill out the logbook, which is right here. Now it's hard to tell, you might have noticed it before, but the scum gutters are running a little low on water, so we're going to turn the autofill on while I'm here just to top the pool off to make sure the pump's getting the water it needs. So after I do all that, I'm going to add the chems and be on my way to the next stop, and that's what is entailed here with the chem stop only for the commercial pool. And again, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are full service days, so those days I'd be here doing a full service vacuuming, brushing, you know, the works. And then of course they always get the email report, whether if it's a chem only treatment or a full service, in addition to the logbook being filled out for the health inspector. So I figured, what the hell, since I'm here, may as well show you what I'm doing. So that valve right there is what turns on the water to the autofill. So you can see right there, I got it turned on. That's all dumping water in the reserve tank and going to end up its way in the pool. I got the logbook right here that I'm going to fill out once I'm done. And if you look closely, you can see the Superflow VS that's back there. And then of course the plumbing that goes out to the heater and the filter. And that's essentially the quote unquote equipment room. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing and be on my way. All right guys, so one of the first things I do is when I'm going out to a new estimate, I've never been to the property before, I'll go ahead and give the client a call and just let him know or her know that we're on the way. So that's exactly what I'm about to do right now. We're going to our first estimate of the day. Hello? Hey, Kenny, it's Eric with Chlorine King Pool Service. How are you? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Hey, I was just letting you know I'm roughly about 10 minutes away from your property to do an estimate for pool service. It's not a good time? Well, I mean, if there's access to the property, I could just go on back and do my thing, and then the office could reach out to you as far as the estimate price and all that stuff. That sounds great. Which side's the best way to access, the left or right? When I need to go in the backyard, which is the best way to get to the pool, left or right side of the house? Okay. Okay. All right, that sounds good, Kenny. Well, I'll go ahead and take care of that, and then the office will be in touch with you as soon as they get the estimate from me. All right, Kenny, have a good day. All right, you're welcome. Thank you. So I don't know what was so difficult with that question, which way is the best side to access the pool, but nonetheless, I get that all the time. So let's go ahead and onto the property and go from there. We'll see you there. All right, guys, you can see we're here at my first estimate. You can see my test kit right there. We do a full test each and every time, and we also test for salt if it's a salt pool. This pool does not appear to be a salt pool, but just overall, you can sort of see the surface is in pretty rough shape. If you actually look down there at the bottom of the pool, you can see a non-compliant 𝐬𝐫𝐫𝐷𝐸 drain cover and a patchwork just to the left of it in this frame. So you can see there's definitely some issues with this pool. The surface, it has a lot of modeling, which means the finished surface is starting to go. I see some blistering, some delamination, all that kind of stuff. And then over here at the skimmer, it might be tough to see, but there's a lot of patchwork right there by the skimmer, and it looks like it's been replaced at some point based on the different coloration of pool decking there. And looking from this point of view, you can see there's a lot of tree that's close to the pool. And this is a pretty deep pool. It's an 8-foot deep pool. Again, the surface is definitely older. You can see a lot of iron staining from the irrigation all along the deck here. And then just going over to the equipment, you can see you got old single speed, you got a super small filter for the size pool. The gauge is actually, the pressure on it is pretty high, it's at 20. But I mean, this is a lot, the pool's asking a lot for a filter this small to be filtering this entire body of water. Obviously the plumbing's housed in a concrete pad. Looks like an extension cord was used to wire the pump. so not necessarily the best situation here. So it'd be not the easiest for replacing this equipment, and also not a lot of room. So I mean, just based on this kind of stuff alone, I'm not going to bid on this pool. We're just going to refer it out to someone else and see if someone else is willing to take care of this. This just doesn't fit our criteria for a pool that we want to manage. Oh, and I just saw from this angle the main drain is actually broken. So that has to be replaced regardless. And I mean, there's calcium nodules throughout the pool. Like I said, delamination, blistering, I meant etching. I don't know why I said blistering. That's in fiberglass pools generally, but this pool is a big pass for us, and we'll move on to the next one.
Hello. Wow, how funny is that? I was just about to talk to you guys, and now I got a call from the office. Let's see what she has to say. Hey, Tiff, what's up?
Hey, I just had some questions about a client that we're dealing with, or is having some issues with her pool surface.
Okay.
She stated that her grandson is scratching his feet on the bottom of on the pool floor.
Okay.
And not really sure where we should proceed from there.
All right. How long? What's her name? All right. Let me look real quick. Okay. Actually, I remember this pool because I did the estimate. This was just recently built, wasn't it?
Yes, they said that the pool was finished in January, and they had a startup for 30 days.
Okay, was there, so we started in mid-April, it looks like, so I did the estimate on the 9th, so was there any service in between?
The client states that there wasn't any service. There was only the startup. She said that she knows for sure a month, possibly 2 months, but there was no service in March. And not at the beginning of April until we started.
Okay, so there is definitely, they probably only did 1 month, 2 months would be, I've never even heard of someone doing a 2-month service. So let me look at Skimmer. Has she tried reaching back out to the builder to see what they said?
Yes, and the builder is stating that it's the way that we're doing the chemistry that's causing these rough surface spots.
Okay, that's hilarious. So there's no service for probably 2 months, and the builder's just saying it's our fault.
Correct.
That's hilarious. All right, so let me look here. So let's see. Oh yeah, I wasn't even able to test this pool because it was covered during the estimate. And then she also said there's a lot of paver sand because they were doing paver work. Let's see. So when Pat serviced the pool the first time on the 14th, the pH was 8.4. So the pH was sky high before we even touched the pool, and it sounds like it was that high for 2 months. So what I would do is have her go back to the builder and explain, look, there hasn't been service, or the pH was high when they started, and find out what the builder says. Because also another issue, which I pointed out during the estimate, was the salt system was hot 24/7. They wired it directly to a breaker, which is one reason why the pH is so high, is because it's just running all the time. And I explained to her that's not ideal. They need to get a timer put in. And I know she told me that the builder declined that. So ultimately, you know, they put in a system that's causing the pH to be high all the time, which again isn't our problem. So I would have her talk to the builder, and if necessary, I could get involved and talk with him, and just go from there. But nonetheless, there's no way this is our fault. We came into a pH that's super high. Has she used the pool at all between now and when we serviced the pool?
She started after we started service, because she said that it had been too cold. So she said she hadn't gotten in the pool until May. That's why she didn't know anything until now, that it was rough.
Gotcha.
And she did say that the roughness is all throughout the pool.
Yeah, probably what happened is, you know, they started it up, and Lord knows how they started it up. I mean, you never know, but it sat for a couple months without any service, and the pH was through the roof. And with pH being so high, it could increase the scaling. I mean, this absolutely isn't our fault, and I would have her go back to the builder and have them come out and assess it, because there's no way we could be blamed for it if we walk into a pool with a sky high pH and the pool hasn't been serviced for an entire 2 months right after it was built. So not playing the blame game, but I would have her go back to the builder and see if they can do a site visit, and I'd be happy to even meet them out there to discuss it, because for them to just blindly point the finger at us without even knowing the facts is very common. And we're not going to take the blame for it. So have her reach back out to the builder and let me know, you know, what's said there. And if need be, I'll write an email to the client explaining everything and let it go from there.
Okay, I'll reach back out to her now.
All right, thanks, Tiff.
All right, thanks. Thank you.
All right, bye. So this is the problem with new builds and doing startups and all this kind of stuff. So as you just heard, we're getting blamed for a pool that was not serviced for several months. Very soon after it was built, the pool company supposedly did a startup, but when we took it on, the pH was sky high, and with them installing a salt system with the it wired directly to the breaker and hot 24/7, that absolutely will cause the pH to be high and continually high, and hard for us to manage without them wanting to put in a timer or the homeowner paying us to put in a timer to have it installed correctly. I even forwarded the manual to the homeowner so she could forward it to the builder to show that it's not proper to wire it hot 24/7. And his response was, I remember this, his response was, well, that's an upgrade for the timer and you should pay for that, even though they just spent over $100,000 on the pool. And they have a sub panel there, you know, one of those big Intermatic sub panels with the 2 spots for timers. It would take no time at all to wire it to a timer to make it be proper, but instead the builder is not doing that, and instead now just pointing the finger at us. So that is something to watch out for when you're working with you know, new pools and startups and all that. And this is what can happen. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't touch it until 4 months after it was built. There's a unknown length of time that the pool had not been serviced, and we have no idea how it was started up, because when we first got there during the estimate, the pool was covered up and they were doing paver work. In addition to that, the homeowner put, which I put in the report on the service, the estimate work order, there's lots of sand on the floor of the pool. So with that, that's polymeric sand, which is a common thing to use in pavers. In addition to it just sitting on the floor on a new surface, sure, it's going to be gritty. So we'll see what happens, but nonetheless, just want to show you guys what a typical day is like. Isn't it wonderful? All right, guys, so the next call I'm at is a service call for diagnosing a salt system, if it's working or not. So I already went ahead and diagnosed it, so I'll walk you through what I did to not waste your guys' time. And also, this is an Airbnb, so I'm going to limit how much the pool is being viewed, because it is in use. So the first thing I looked at, it is a Hayward turbo cell. The video makes it look really good, but it is extremely old and faded. I don't know if you can tell the difference in coloration between the PVC and the cell itself, but it's definitely an older unit. So the first thing I did, I tested the salt in the pool, and we got a roughly 4,100 parts per million, which is fantastic. So the next thing I did, obviously, is I took see what the panel was reading. And as you can see here, it's reading 2,000 parts per million. There is a check cell light on, and then the no flow is not lit, so it is sensing flow. So you can see there's a drastic difference between the reading on the panel and the reading in the pool. Generally, anything over 500 parts means the cell is starting to fail. So then the next thing I did was, the nice thing about the Haywards is you can see the current salt cell reading, and the cell is reading 0 parts per million of salt. So that is a very, very strong indicator that the cell is not working. And then the last thing I did, just to verify the cell is clean, and not super clogged with calcium causing these issues. I did take the cell apart and it was 100% clean, perfectly seen through. In fact, it was just cleaned recently through the service reports I saw on Skimmer. So it's very safe to say that the salt cell is not working properly because the salt content is way off between my manual reading and what the panel is reading, and then also it's not reading any current salt, which means the cell has failed. So that's it for this service call. We're going to submit a quote for a new one, and that's that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next stop.
Hey Pat, what's up?
Hey man, question for you.
Yep.
So one of the houses out here that got flooded, we got a handful of pumps that went in and cannot get it to respond to anything that I do. Everything, so relays and comm wires are all looking like they're in check. Just not responsive on anything. Any tips?
So it's a new pump?
Yes.
Probably. So do you have everything going to the filter pump relay, like as far as the schedule and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I went like for like with what we had in there. Figured it'd be kind of easy to just copy what they had, even though they have newer equipment.
Yeah, so yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's what I would have done too, but Janie just actually changed the way it syncs, like the pump address works with automation. So it used to be, you know, ran all through the filter pump relay and the 485 and all that kind of stuff. You just set the once you get the 485 connected, you know, then you set the schedule through the filter pump relay. But now with the new pumps, they actually have it automatically go down to pump 5. So if you go into the settings through your service controller, if you go down to all the pumps and you'll see pump 5, you'll see a bunch of random numbers and letters and all that kind of stuff. That's where the new Jandy pumps will automatically populate. So then you have to assign that to the schedule and all that, and its speeds and all that fun stuff, just like the filter pump, but instead you're doing it to pump address number 5. And then from there, it should all work. Now, do you have is there a salt system there as well?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd want to still have the filter pump relay scheduled for the salt system, but then you'd have the pump 5 scheduled for the actual pool pump. So are you in the service controller now?
Yeah, I'm working on it as you were talking about it.
Oh, okay.
5.
So you see where it has a bunch of numbers and letters at pump 5? You there?
All right.
Yeah, you there?
Yep.
Okay, so you see all the numbers and stuff, so just set a schedule to that, and then just make sure the time of day is correct on the automation system, make sure it's in the right time zone, and then just put it back in auto and it should fire right up. So just let me know what you find.
All right. Sounds good.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks, brother.
Yep.
Alright, see ya. So that is one thing that Jandy has changed. If you're putting in a new DV2A pumps, they automatically populate to address 5, like I was just telling Pat. Trying to figure out what this car's doing. So anyways, it automatically populates to address 5. So when you're going in the settings to set up the pump scheduling, you want to make sure it's allocated to pump 5, and it should all work from there, not through filter pump. Now, if you have a salt system, like I said, you want to address that through the filter pump relay and make sure that's in line with whatever you assign to pump 5. So hopefully that helps. That was a technical question for the Jandy pumps, and yeah, that is now, I think I'm in the 50s as far as the amount of calls today, so I've had quite a few. So anyways, hope that helped.
All right, guys, the next stop we're at is the startup that I'm in the process of. I'm in week 2 or 3, I believe, at this point. I'd have to check Skimmer to confirm, but here's the equipment. A couple tips for the equipment. The first thing is you always want the pool pump, which is right there, running 24/7 to make sure the pool is constantly being moved during the startup procedure. That's a good tip. And just to preface this, I'm going to talk about generalities right now. I am going to do a more thorough video on the startup process on exactly what I do here, but just for today, I'll give you a couple quick tips. Another quick tip is when you're starting up the pool, want to make sure that the heater is in bypass mode. You can see right there the valve is off. In other words, water's not flowing through this. You know, I start my pools up based on the LSI, and you generally want to be on the corrosive side slightly, just to make sure that it's the chemistry is helping expose that top layer of plaster that's underneath all the cream and stuff that's left behind after a pool is built or renovated for the first time. So pool pump on 24/7, heater on bypass, and that's essentially for the equipment. No salt for 30 days. In addition to that, there's no swimming or no vacuuming for the first 30 days as a good general rule of thumb. Now we're going to walk over here. The builder who did this pool is Hogfish Pools here in Seminole, Florida. He's a good friend of mine, very good builder, and does exceptional work. So a couple things here. Right now it's in priming mode, so these fountains are much more powerful than what they normally are. But generally you want to keep water features off, or at least minimal during this time. No waterfalls whatsoever, but just like these on the sun shelf, I like to keep them on just enough to break the surface, just to circulate the water on the shelf itself. And then, like I said, with the chemistry, I do it based off LSI, so I want to keep it generally on the slightly corrosive side to make sure that the chemistry is helping expose the aggregate or the surface underneath that top layer. So then another thing I do is do a full brushing, you know, top to bottom, the floors included especially. That's often a neglected thing. So I'll walk around, do the chemistry, I will do a full brushing, and then from there just, you know, the water level's a little low here, so we're going to put some water in. And that's essentially it as far as a quick down and dirty explanation of what I do. I'm not going to, you know, record me doing it here because I don't want to waste you guys' time. But that is a quick little tutorial on starting up a pool, and it just went down to the normal speed, so you can see the fountains are a lot less powerful now. It's just moving the surface of the sun bench like I explained. And then also another thing I like to do is just zip tie a tab feeder right there by the skimmer and give us enough room to not clog up the skimmer and allow that to function, just to keep some chlorine in the pool initially until I add stabilizer, which is usually around week 3. And so that's it. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to go ahead and get to starting this pool up, and then we'll see you at the next stop.
Hey there, what's up?
Hey, I'm getting really frustrated. I'm trying to get these pools done, and it's hot, and my riptide's, I don't know what's wrong with it. It keeps tripping. Every time I put it in the water, it's just, breaker keeps tripping. I pull it out, turn it off, turn it back on, put it back in the water, and I can't vacuum anything up, and I don't know what I can do. Just want to get these pools done, and it's not working.
All right, well, there's a couple things we can look at. One, there should be a wire brush in your bin. You know, go ahead and take that out, clean the connection off the cord, clean the connection in the switch box. You know, a lot of times there'll be some corrosion, like if it looks like a little bluish, like copper type of look.
Switch box, which part is that?
That's the part with the switch where you turn the riptide on and off each time.
Okay.
So the little copper terminals where you
handle from the vacuum? Okay.
Yeah, where you take the cord from the vacuum, plug it in, make sure both the connections on the cord are good and the connection on the switch box itself where the plug plugs into is clean, you know, don't have any green corrosion on it. And then secondly, you said the breaker keeps tripping on the switch box?
Yeah, every time I put it in the water, like it starts, like once it actually gets all the way down, like submerged, it just turns off.
Okay, so that's
the prop stops. It's not moving or picking up anything.
Okay, so that could be one of two things, more than likely, you know, without it being a catastrophic damage to the motor or something. So two things to look at. One, make sure when you're pressing the breaker back in, you're pressing hard enough, because sometimes people think they're pushing in hard enough and they're not, and then it just trips instantly. So make sure you're actually hearing an audible click when you push it back in. That's one thing to look at. And then secondly, make sure, you know, it's always a good habit every day to clean out the prop. A lot of times hair or like, you know, palm fronds, the little stringy stuff can get caught underneath the prop and cause enough resistance to cause that tripper to break. The whole point of that breaker is to protect the riptide if it senses any type of resistance, or like if the motor's working harder or anything like that. So just make sure that's clean as well, and that's probably more than likely going to solve your issues.
Okay, sorry. So I'll check my connections in the switch box and all. I'll brush everything off. I'll check my prop in there.
Yeah, and then
yeah, hopefully that works. I'll get these knocked out.
yeah, and then of course just make sure there's no frayed wires anywhere, or make sure all the bolts are snug and tight, you know, on the battery, on the switch box, and all that stuff on the back end of the switch box. And that, you know, if you go through all that and there's still an issue, bring the vacuum in, I'll fix it. But more than likely, just cleaning out the prop or making sure you press that breaker in enough is going to solve the issue.
Okay, I'll try all that, and then I will let you know where it gets to. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you.
Have a good day, boss. Thanks.
All right, yep, bye. So when I get those type of calls, which doesn't happen a lot, but oftentimes it's going to be stuff that is stuck under the prop. So just make sure when you are, if you're having that issue where the riptide keeps stopping, or if you see it's moving slower than normal and you have a good battery charge, check that prop, because more than likely some finer stuff got stuck underneath and causing that issue to happen. So hopefully that helps.
All right, so our next stop, we are here at a pool light replacement quote. So the first thing I do is I try to find the junction box, which it is right here, right by the pool equipment. You can see the conduit right there. And then that is going to the transformer, which I'll show you in a second. But you can see, it might be tough because of the shadow, but there is 3/4 inch conduit. If it's 1/2 inch conduit or flexible conduit, I don't even bother with it, because more than likely it's going to get stuck and be a major issue. But like I said, you can see the flex going from the junction box to the transformer and then into the automation system. So at least the preliminary check of the conduit and junction box is good to go. I'm very particular on lights because they bite you more times than not when you're replacing lights, because Florida, we're in a big peninsula with soft sugar sand and all that, so a lot of times we'll see sunken pavers, sunken decks, deck settlement, and all that kind of stuff. That could very easily sit down on the conduit, crush it, all that stuff, and then when you go to replace a light, you can't. And then now you're stuck with explaining to the customer that the light install didn't go too well, and they're either going to be understanding or happy. But then it looks like here there's 2 lights. It looks like you got one right over there, and then another one right over there on that wall. They look like Pentair and Telebrights. It's real tough to tell if they get a close-up with a picture and figure out exactly which microlight it is. But in this particular instance, I feel confident replacing these lights because they're on the same side. I don't see any crushed conduit or anything, I'm sorry, any sunken deck or anything like that could possibly crush a conduit. They, of course, will sign an ROL that, you know, we're not responsible if a light snaps on the ground or anything like that, because this is a very unknown condition and we are on the beach and this all was underwater just not even 6 months ago. But everything looks good as far as a basic straightforward install. It's always important to make sure you're picky with lights, because if you're not, you could spend all day there and then it's not even worth doing the job. So this job looks to be okay. We're going to go ahead and send a quote for these, but just something else to think about when you're out doing quotes for pool lights. So let's go ahead and move on to the last stop I'm going to record today, which is another estimate for service. So we'll see you at that stop.
Alrighty, so as I already said, from that last stop, I'm heading to my last stop I'm going to record for today. Just a quick tip, you know, it's always a good idea to call estimates as you're heading out there, because, you know, if they're not a normal client of yours, you don't want to just show up unexpected. I always try to give them a half-hour notice just to make sure if they're home, they're ready, and if not, you know, I have time to get there and do my thing and move on and just let them know I'm going to be on property. So, unfortunately, this particular one that I'm heading to now, I don't have a phone number in the software. They are closing on the house and just essentially want me to go back there and do an estimate, which you guys will see if the house is vacant. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be at that last stop here shortly.
All right, everybody. So we are at the last estimate for the day. And as an estimate you saw earlier in the day, I already knew that we were going to decline it as soon as I saw the pool and equipment, so didn't bother testing it or sort of walking you through more of our process. But this pool we definitely like to bid on. It's a nice screened in pool. It's like 15 to 17,000 gallons roughly, based on just looking at it. There's some algae growing though. There's some algae on that far wall there, and then there's some algae over here you can see on the steps, and then there's also some here on the other side of the fountain along the radius of this wall. So I mean, there's some algae definitely in the pool, and then the water level is low. Might not be able to capture it all, but it is low in this pool. I did test this pool, and the readings were chlorine was 0, pH was over 8, the alkalinity was 180, the calcium was 290, and the stabilizer is, I would give it a 10, but basically 0. You can still clearly see the black dot. With the algae present and the chemistry way off, we are going to charge a chemical balancing fee, or at least put that in the estimate. If they accept or not, you know, it's going to be dependent on them accepting that. And then one other thing that's great that the tenant or homeowner told me is that they are turning this into an Airbnb. One thing that we always do is we require our Airbnbs to be twice a week, because generally speaking, it's very, very difficult, at least here in Florida where I'm at, because of the usage and how many people get in the pools. Very difficult to maintain a pool properly only one time a week with Airbnbs. There's only so much chemical you can safely put in a pool to keep it clean, and it quickly gets eaten up with 20, 30 people in a pool at a time, which we see all the time on our Airbnb pools. So Airbnbs are required to go twice a week. But overall, this pool is a nice screen-in pool. We're happy to put a bid on it, which we're going to. Let's go ahead and walk over to the equipment now. So I'm big on having larger filters. I hate tiny little filters, and this is a 150 square foot filter, which isn't the end of the world. I would love to see at least a 200 or 250, but I think this pool is manageable being screened in with a 150 square foot filter. This is a 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐿 C150S. You got a single speed pump here and then a tablet feeder. Nothing special here. Pump, everything seems to be working properly. I don't see any leaks, so there's no issue there. So everything looks good. So long story short, we are going to put a bid on this pool. Hopefully they accept, and we will be their new service provider. So hopefully you guys learn a little bit on this estimate, as this is a pool we definitely want, and with it being an Airbnb, learn a little bit about what our procedure is for Airbnbs, and then pools that are with bad chemistry and algae present, what we do from there. So long story short, we're putting a bid in twice a week, chemical rebalance fee, and then go from there and see what happens. So hopefully you guys learn a little bit. Take care, and we'll see you here shortly.
All right, guys, so that's it for today. That is a typical day as a pool guy in my shoes. I hope you guys learn a little bit and just sort of see what you deal with from day to day as a business owner, from, you know, estimates, service calls, startups, to answering a bunch of phone calls. I'm into 60 phone calls or so today. I'm tired of talking, so hopefully you guys learn a little bit from this video. Like and subscribe. Check out the descriptions below. And as always, stay tuned for the next video. Have a great day, everyone.